Hi, y'all. It's Alan of Sal and Al the Wool Slayers, and I have quite a few finished objects. I have some slays. Yay! So just to get all the business out of the way, I can be found on Ravelry on my username is Alan Loves Yarn. On Instagram as Wool Slayers Podcast, and same for Facebook, Wool Slayers Podcast. And you're probably watching this on YouTube, but if you're not, I am on Sal and Al the Wool Slayers on YouTube. So that's where we are. I will start off with this because it's warm in my room. It is very warm. It is March 29th. Yes, March 29th, Friday, March 29th. And it is a gorgeous day in Texas, in Dallas. Pretty sure Houston is also. And so I need to go change. I have shorts on. Trust me, I have shorts on. But I need to get this shawl off of me. So this is the I'm gonna look at my notes. It's the Lightweight Hipster. And so it's a one skein shawl from Joji Locatelli, and it really is a brilliant one skein shawl. So, it, stretches the yarn by doing these Indian crosses. And then there's a little bit of lace in between them. And, what I decided to do, the pattern calls for creating tassels out of the same yarn. So you use part of your skein for the tassels, but because mine is speckled and I have all the leftovers, I decided I didn't even check beforehand. I just knew I'd have something. I knew I'd have enough. So I just went into my leftover minis and chose tassels chose yarns that were the same color as were in the yarn of the body of the shawl, and made little tassels with those. I'm trying to not get into perfectionism. So since I went further than the pattern called for, I didn't count how many tassels I needed. I just made what I thought would be a good number. And then I didn't space them perfectly. I didn't count any stitches. I didn't count any Indian crosses, nothing. I just went with it, and it was fine. It's fine. They're not perfect. Right here, you can see these two, the black and the red, are closer together than the others. And you know what? It's fine, because somebody galloping by on a horse is not going to see that when it's on my body. So, but it was a fun knit. The yarn is Manos de Uruguay Alegria, which I love. Whenever I see this yarn on sale, I snatch it up and it's not super expensive to begin with, but sales are fun. But I know that I'm gonna love it. I know I'm gonna enjoy knitting with it. I know it's gonna be great. So I always grab it. This was one skein. I think my mom got one at the same skein, and I'm pretty sure she's used it. Not exactly sure, but pretty sure. So I'm happy to have this. And it just went perfectly with this blue shirt. So I'm like, I'm going to put the blue shirt on. I'm going to wear the shawl for 15 minutes. Well, 3 minutes for this, but yeah. Okay. So my next sleigh is, it's called the Northern Taurids hat, Taurads. I'm not sure the origin of the word, but I was trying to use this. I had a small amount of this hand spun yarn, and so I a long time ago found the blue to go with it. It's a worsted weight. The hand spun is a worsted weight. The blue and the hand spun is from Flying Right Farms. The blue is from Brown Sheep Lamb's Pride Worsted, which is pretty common. The color is blue suede, and the person that wrote the pattern is Arena Revo, and it's meant to be a folded brim. So like my end is right there. It is a free pattern, but the pattern's not actually written. What she does is she links you to some videos that she has that explain how to make the pattern and or how to make the hat. So what I did was I sat down, had YouTube on my big screen for work, and just played pause, and typed out what she was saying. So, but it's really nicely done. It's a great pattern. You actually knit it inside out which it's 1x1 ribbing. So, you would think it wouldn't matter knitting it inside out, but this is what the finished, I guess, crown looks like. But on the inside, which was the wrong side, wait, did I do that? Wait a second. Okay, yes, it is almost reversible. I think you could. But these stitches here in the middle are the wrong side stitches. They're the purl side. Whereas over here, it makes this nice little cross in the middle. So, but the pattern is very well written. Very well written. I'm happy with the hat. I wish I had done this in reverse order, because there's a little bit of sparkle in these last few yards of it. And I'm concerned that when you fold it like this, the sparkle is going to be lost on the inside. You have to fold it pretty far to be able to see that blue section with the sparkle. So if I were to do it again, I'm not pulling this out, but I would knit the hand spun in the other direction. I didn't pay attention when I was winding it that there was only sparkle in one section. And, maybe it's fine that the sparkle's on the inside. It makes it a little more masculine if somebody doesn't want sparkle. That's a stereotype. Sorry, men might like sparkle. So it's good. It actually stretches really quite a bit because it's 1x1 ribbing. This has not been blocked, and I'm not gonna block it. I would block it if it got dirty, but I had my 14-year-old son try it on, and his head's a normal size for 14, and it was pretty slouchy on him. He's getting pretty tall, so maybe his head's a little big, but I'm happy with it. And I used the yarn. I used just a tiny little bit of hand spun. So that is, oh, and this is how much of the Lamb's Pride that I had left, which is about 20 grams. It's kind of an interesting put up. It's 113 grams in the put up. And so I used 93 grams. So I had 20 grams left. I will make soap sweaters out of this. I'm not going to try to use that in an actual project. Okay, so the next one I'm super excited about. The last two were kind of trying to use things from my stash, but this was pretty special. So when my mom and I went to Italy 4 or 5 years ago with the Lambs on the Run group and Cindy Hallam, we went to a goat farm, and I'm gonna need my glasses. We went to a goat farm and I bought this yarn there. So it was a cashmere goat farm. This is not cashmere yarn. This is yarn I cannot say. 60% Brogna, B-R-O-G-N-A wool, 20% alpaca, and 20% mohair. So it, and and it's from Lani Vendole. And I bought 2 skeins of navy and 1 skein of what looked green. It looked like a lime green, and just by itself, it looks like a lime green. So I'm thinking I'm making a navy and lime green shawl. It is so gold. It looks that gold on camera. Like, I mean, the color it is on camera is the color that it is in person. That is gold. That is not lime green. And that happened immediately. Oh, I had it backwards. I saw it immediately when I started knitting the mosaic section. So what I did was, this yarn's been hanging out waiting. I had it queued up. I knew I was going to knit with it. And then my mom and I went to Italy over Thanksgiving. So I was like, I'm going to take my Italy yarn to knit in Italy when we were there. So I did. I took it, I cast it on while I was there, and it starts here. And so I guess it's top down. And I knew that so it comes in 2 sizes. It comes in a small and a large. I knew I didn't have enough yarn to knit the large, but I needed a little bit of the second skein of the navy to knit the small. And so as I'm knitting it, I'm like, I can just keep going. It'll be fine. I'll keep going. I'll adjust the mosaic motif. I'll figure out what the repeat is. It'll be fine. Y'all, it was great. I randomly decided to stop. I'm like, okay, I think that's enough. I counted the stitches. I didn't have to make any adjustments or alterations. It was perfect. I had more stitches than the pattern called for, but I had the right repeat of the motif. I was like, how does this happen? Like, once in 1,000 times this will happen for a knitter. So I've had it happen. I'm done. It's not ever gonna happen again. So because I kept going, I underestimated how much I would need in this motif, in the mosaic part. I've never done, this was my first time doing mosaic knitting. So I did have to look up a video on how to read the chart, because originally I was reading it the way I would read a colorwork chart, and it's not. So if you do mosaic for the first time, look up how to read a mosaic knitting chart. But once I knew it, then I was like, okay, now I know what to do. So this motif, that is half of it, because I realized I was running out of navy yarn. I wouldn't have enough to do the full thickness. But as you can tell, I had a lot of the yellow left over after I did that motif, because you're supposed to just like do a couple of rows of garter and bind off. Garter, I don't know, it might not even be garter, I can't remember. But it is, well, I'll finish telling you about it and then I'll tell you what the shawl is, because it is a paid pattern and it's really good. So what I decided to do was just knit garter, because I wanted it to be stretchy. I didn't want to go back to this lace, the lace here. I didn't want to go back to that and do it in the yellow. I just, it's nice having a garter band at the end. Well, as you can tell, I still had navy left over and I might have a small problem. I like to use everything. So I did. So what I did was I knit the final row of the garter. I knit across, and it's a long across. I knit across all of that once, and then I bound off on the way back, on the wrong side. So you can kind of see, like on the back side, you can see that there's, that's where I only knit one row. But I think I bound it off about 3 times because I did not have enough yarn. I wanted to do a stretchy bind off, which I usually use the lacy bind off, which is you knit 2 stitches and then put both stitches back on the left hand needle and knit 2 through the back loop, and then knit 1 stitch, put both stitches back on the left hand needle, knit 2 through the back loop. So you're doing like 2 or 3 stitches. You're doing 2 or 3 stitches for each bind off. So it takes a lot more yarn, but it also stretches, which is nice when you have a garter edge because the garter is going to stretch. So I kept running out of yarn. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do a lacy bind off stitch every other stitch, and then I should have enough. Nope. I'm gonna do it every 3 stitches. Nope. I did it every 4 stitches, and I finally got to the end, and I still didn't have enough, but I only had like 10 stitches to go. So I backed it up a little bit and did it like every 6 stitches. And then when I got to the like last 5 stitches, I just bound those off, knit 1, slip it over the other. So I didn't worry about that little end being stretchy. I mean, I made it work. Oh, and I was laughing at myself so hard. So even after I did all that, I still had 2 stitches to bind off. So since I was coming back to my beginning of the row, I knew that if I had, a 4 or 5 inch length of when I added the new blue. So I knew if I wove that in and cut it off, I would only have like 2 inches to work with. And you can't knit with that. Like fingers literally can't do that. So, or mine can't. So instead of weaving it in and cutting it, I took the end of it, which is hanging down like this, and just pulled it up and knit the last 2 stitches with it. So then when it was time to bind off, I cut it, or, weave in the ends. I cut it in the middle and then weaved in the 2 short ends, wove in the 2 short ends. So yeah, it was pretty, I felt like I was being very creative. I could have just not tried to be so complicated. So, I love the product. Absolutely love it. I will tell you, I should have taken a picture of before and after. So when I blocked it, I got it wet and I laid it out, but I hadn't put wires in it because I'm like, oh, it's straight across. Well, no, when I laid it out, it had this big old bump here in the middle. It wasn't straight across. So I took out my blocking wires and I did the top line and put that on the blocking wires and then just pulled the tip down. I didn't put wires through all 3 sides, but it made this top pretty straight. Like that is a really straight shawl line. So I now okay, they're meant to be straight because I can't tell you how many times I blocked something and just let it do the natural curve that it had along the kind of the starting edge. And it's like all wavy. Yeah, no, now I'll use blocking wires. So this is not going to stay on very long because it is wool. It is woolly wool too. It does feel great, and it's going to feel wonderful in the wintertime. I feel like it's the perfect Notre Dame shawl. So it might end up with somebody who's a Notre Dame fan. I don't know. But the shawl is the Shine On Shawl by Amba O'Brien. And it's my first time doing a pattern of hers. It's my first time doing mosaic knitting. The pattern, you can either buy it individually or you can buy a set that has fingerless mitts and I think a headband as well. But I might make the mitts. I thought if I had extra yarn, I would make the mitts, but obviously I don't because I went on and on and on with this. So I I would do mosaic knitting again. But like it's not one that I'm like, oh my God, I loved it so much, I have to do it again. It's not that. Yeah, it was fine. I don't dislike it. I don't love it. It is what it is. It would be if I liked if I wanted the product, if I wanted the item that was, and it had mosaic knitting in it. I'm not seeking it out. Let me say that. So that's another one. I mean, how did I get so many sleighs? I mean, I guess it's been a month since I recorded. Probably just had them all ready. Just almost ready. Okay, so the next is a big one, guys. A big one. This is my sweater, and I am not wearing it because it is hot, but I did get to wear it. I did get to wear it twice. I got to wear it twice. Granted, they were only a few days apart. I got to wear it twice. When I finished it, I thought, I'm not going to get to wear it. It's going to be hot from now on. I will not need a wool sweater. It got cold. So I got to wear it twice. And I don't know if y'all remember this, but I had wanted to have it finished in the fall so that I could wear it this winter. I did not. So it's called Mars. Wait. Yeah, it is called Mars Sweater. I did not even put this together. So the sweater is called Mars Sweater. No, it's not called Mars Sweater. That's what I named it. Weekend Sweater, I think? Oh, man. I wrote the wrong thing down. It's not as clever as I thought. Relaxed. It's by Marzena Kolaczyk. Marzena Kolaczyk. And I will put it in the show notes what the actual name of the sweater is. I can't. Anyway, so it has this beautiful stand-up collar that goes down in the front, and it feels really good on it. It's almost like having a cowl on because it's a double knit. So it has, like on the outside, it has this. That's the channel that the cord goes through. Duh. Okay, but this is double knit, so on the inside and the outside, and that took forever. This collar took forever. But it's so beautiful the way she designed it. I feel like it's such a polished sweater. The sleeves have the same treatment, which I'm going to show y'all. I started to run out of yarn. I knew I was going to run out of yarn, and it's only because I went too long in the body. If I hadn't gone too long in the body, I would have had plenty of yarn because I really didn't use that much of this yarn, but also because I was running out of yarn. There's supposed to be 2 inches of double knit here for a cuff, and I only did a 1/2 inch. So you can see that it's a 1/2 inch instead of, 2 inches would be like that much. And that would be really nice. Having that thick of a, that wide of a cuff, it would be a nice detail. And on this side, I striped it before I got to the cuff, before I got to the 1/2 inch of cuff. So, I did the straight version. There's a straight and an A-line. I did the straight version mostly because I knew that I needed to watch my yarn. So I used 4 skeins of the orange color, and the orange is A River Runs Through Mars from Madeline Tosh, and it's it's Twist Light. 4 skeins of it. It's fingering weight. I did go down a needle size. I'm pretty sure I did it on 3. I think the pattern calls for 4, but in my swatching, I wanted it to be a little bit closer knit. Then the blue, so I've used this blue before, and I just knew, I used it in a shawl, and I just knew it was going to be the right color, and it absolutely is the right color to pick up the blues that are in the orange. And the color is Blue Nile from Madeline Tosh. It is by far my favorite turquoise. My favorite turquoise from Madeline Tosh. I will say the cyan from, I think it's Monasta, Uruguay. Cyan color. No, sorry. Malabrigo. Malabrigo cyan, CYAN, is also a beautiful turquoise. That one has, they're dyed differently, so the Malabrigo has a lot more variegation in it. And Madeline Tosh, well, I guess there's quite a bit of variegation in it also. Anyway, the other thing that I did is I went into my bead stash, and like people have button stashes, which I do have that. I got yarn stashes, I got fabric stashes, I have bead stashes. I have been known to even take apart necklaces that I don't like anymore and harvest the beads from them. So that's probably what I did here. And they're just the perfect blue. They're glass beads. And they were all different. So I just picked two that worked. And yeah, so there we go. That's my sweater. I'm so happy about it. It is a little too long. It's a smidge too big, which is fine. I'd rather have it too big than too small. But so now I can put a tank underneath or, layer it up. So I'm very, very happy with it. I'm very happy with the sleeves. I know I did this out of necessity, but it might be my favorite part of the sweater is having the color on the sleeves and doing them, two different ways, not making them match. I get so many compliments, or, the 2 days that I wore it, I got so many compliments on the sleeves, like, oh my God, that's so interesting. So yeah, it's a huge win. I love it. I have not cast on another sweater. I know my plan was to keep a sweater on the needles, or a garment on the needles. And I am going to do that. I just haven't figured out which one I'm going to do yet. The one I want to do, I need one, it has 5 colors, and I need one more skein, and I need to order it. So I just haven't pulled the trigger on it. I haven't taken the time to do it. Okay, one last sleigh. So many sleighs. Okay, it is these fingerless mitts. So those of y'all that have been watching for a while know that I am obsessed with mustache yarns, mill-ins, and I love buying the small quantities when she's at DFW Fiber Fest. I've even bought them from her online when she has them online, and I just collect them. Don't know what I'm doing with them. I've made a couple of no-show socks with them, but I don't love making no-show socks. They're fiddly. So, and I also am not a huge sock wearer, so I don't make a lot of socks. It's not my thing. But I'm always jealous of people that can have a sock on the needles at all times and just take it and go. It is such a good portable project. I think I found my socks that aren't socks. So it's these mitts. This colorway is this is Woodstock, and I made these with 30 grams. So each one is 15 grams because the way Mustache puts up her yarn is they're perfectly matched sets. And so it'll look like one skein, but there's actually 2 skeins tied together, or tied separately, twisted together. And so you can wind them up in cakes or balls separately. So 30 grams. A lot of mitt patterns, and a lot of mitt patterns are written from the wrist up, so bottom up. I wanted top down because I wanted to, I have all these varying lengths of yarn, and because I've had the mill ends, And I wanted to be able to use it all and make it and just keep going until I ran out of yarn. So I think the reason a lot of mitt patterns are written from bottom up is they're just edited glove patterns or edited mitten patterns. And so those would go from here up to the point, right? And so they just take the pattern and then literally cut off the pattern, like, knit however many inches and stop. So, I went into Ravelry, yay, Ravelry. I went into Ravelry and I looked at a bunch of different patterns that, some that were bottom up, some that were top down, but, I didn't like the construction of that. So I kind of hybrided these so that I can start here. You get to here, put the thumb hole on hold. Yes, I put it on hold with waste yarn. And then, so you can see this purple here comes from here. So that orange, the orange there goes with the orange there. I put those stitches on hold, and then there's a thumb gusset. And so I keep knitting, and I knit, for me, at any point I could, well, actually, now that I think about it, I wonder if I could just not even, anyway, I do the thumb gusset. Once I'm through with the thumb gusset and I have enough length, I go from the other end of the ball and I go back here and I pick up those stitches and I do this little bit of thumb. And so I'm literally using every single inch of this yarn. These are actually the second ones I made. The first ones I made were, I had less yardage and they were a gift for somebody, and I ended up giving them to that person before I even took a picture. So I don't have a picture of them, but they were also in Mustache, and they were in the Great Smoky Mountains colorway, which is beautiful. But they were 24 grams. So with 24 grams of yarn, I made mitts. Now they were shorter. They stopped right at the wrist. That's my wrist right there. They stopped right there. So the extra 6 grams got me this. I did do twisted rib because I think it's just so much prettier than regular ribbing. So the next ones that I'm knitting are in The Last Jedi. And I did do them 2 at a time on the same needle. That was the first time I've ever done that. The first time I cast them on, I didn't watch a video. I'm like, I can figure this out. And it took 2 sets of needles, a lot of ripping out and redoing. And, but I did it. I got it on. So then the second time, because I had done it once, I'm like, okay, my head is wrapped around this now. I understand it. So the second time I cast them on, when I cast these on, I was able to do it with just the one needle and keep going. So I am going to just keep doing this until I run out of middle ends, which will take me a very long time because I got a lot. I kind of wish I hadn't, like I stopped knitting stockinette too soon and went into the twisted rib. I would like for there to be less twisted rib, but it's fine. Like, it's fine. So yeah, I'm very happy with these. I am now keeping them. They will live in my car because they're really good car knitting. And that means that I can never leave home without knitting. They will always be with me. So I'm very excited to have this kind of project, and I will be having lots of fingerless mitts. Okay, those are the sleighs. So whip cracking. I have a whip that I started, and really the only reason I started it right now in this moment is I had cast off a bunch of stuff, and Yes, I have the mitts going, which is my dark knitting. I can read, I can do all the things with that. Most of that mitt, I can do that. When I'm doing the thumb gusset, I need to be able to look down every now and then. So I wouldn't be able to like watch a movie with it. Or I wouldn't be able to watch a movie at a theater with it. But and then I have a cowl that I'm working on, but the stage I'm in with that is not dark knitting. So I really wanted to have something that was just straight on dark knitting. And so I'm in my projects page, updating everything and looking at, wait, what projects do I already have going? Maybe I pick one of those up. Well, I had stored a picture in there. I had stored a project in there. It's the Around Every Corner by Stephanie Lotvin, who is Telly Bean Knits, like jelly bean, but with a T as in Tom. So Telly Bean Knits. She does amazing work with color. I bought her book. I forget what it's called, but it's about using striped yarn. It's a great book. She does such fun holiday themed color work, cowls and shawls, and I think she just did Suburban Stitchers Advent Calendar project last year for 2023. She's just really good with color. So I had put together the yarn for the project, and it uses one large skein, and then you have small amounts for 6 other colors. And so I wanted them to be in a particular order. So I took a picture of it. Well, where can I store the picture? You can't store it in your queue. You can't put pictures in your queue in Ravelry. So I had to create a project page for it. And so it's been sitting there in my projects as if it's an active project when it's not an active project. So I made it an active project just to be able to like get it out or make it real in the projects. So I am loving it. It is really good, dark knitting, really good. I've got it memorized like that. So the way it works is it's using Intarsia, which this is the first time I've really done Intarsia kind of purposefully. I feel like I tried to do it early on when I was knitting. I tried to do a coffee, like a French press cozy in all red and then have a white heart on it. It was fine, but I'm much better now. Much better. But I have learned a couple things. So, wait, hold on. What? I've learned a couple things, but I also have a hole. Why do I have a hole in there? That will be coming out. I will be fixing that. It's there because I didn't trap the yarn. I didn't trap this strand. See that strand right there? That's not supposed to go straight up and down like that. It's supposed to be trapped with the white. I'm gonna have to decide if I want to rip it back or fudge it by sewing it. It's not that far because there's not that many stitches right now. And I haven't cut this yarn. I haven't cut the white yarn yet, even though I'm at the end. I'm supposed to be at the end of it. So you knit the black, or your main color, and then you introduce a new color, and you have, so it's really going to be like this, because it's top down. Also, I will be using my blocking wires on it, but and then I'll put it kind of stair steps, like I'll start another color over here, and so they kind of stair step on each other. It's going to be awesome. I'm super excited. It's fun to knit. One thing that I figured out with the Intarsia is, because my mom actually made this, I bought her not a kit, but a set of colors from Mustache, and they were non-striping, they were solids. So I bought her a set of minis from Mustache and paired it with a light gray color. and then with the pattern. So I kind of created this kit for her as a gift one time. So she's made this pattern, and her intarsia here, she had a problem with it being kind of loose, and I couldn't help her with it because I haven't really done intarsia, but now I know. So my first couple of stitches were looking loose. What I ended up doing, what I realized is when you're switching, like when you're switching colors, you're essentially, it's like this is the end of a row. Not this, not over here. This is the end of a row, and this is the end of a row. And the only thing that is keeping them from being the end of the row is that they're up against another color, and you're twisting those yarns together to make them hold. So what you're doing is, when you go back across, you're essentially you're using the same yarn, this yarn right here, this loop right here. You're using that loop because you're pulling the yarn straight from it. The yarn's coming out from that to then go back into itself. And so the needle can stretch out the length of that stitch because you're pushing into it, and because it's not secured with anything else, it allows more length of the yarn to pull through. So what I realized is I need to hold it tight when I'm putting the needle in, and I need to pull it tight for 2 to 3 inches, similar to when I'm using Magic Loop and switching the needles, and you have to pull it really tight for a couple of inches to hold it in. And that fixed my problem of it seeming loose in those stitches. Now they're staying close together. It looks more uniform. You can't see the divide. Though I'm going to go back and fix that hole. I'm so glad I saw it now. How was that not obvious to me earlier? Anyway, so it'll take a whole skein of I'm using a dark gray. It's Manos de Uruguay. It's Fino, which is a single ply fingering weight, and it feels amazing. It feels amazing. I am going to add this to my list of yarns that I will buy anytime I see it on sale. So it's Manos de Uruguay Fino, and it's silk and wool. I think that's focusing, yeah. So it's silk and wool. It's glasses. It's 30% silk, 70% merino wool. It feels amazing, like so soft, and just, it just feels like butter in your hands. It's so good. So I will buy that anytime I see it on sale. The other colors I'm using are leftovers from other projects. So the order I'm going to go in is, this is Farmer's Daughter, out of Wyoming, I think, or Montana. I made a cowl out of this and had quite a bit left over, and it has just little barely specks of blue. It's beautiful. Then it'll be this, which I think is, this is King Max from Leading Men Fiber Arts. And I made a sockhead hat out of it and had this left over. And then this, I don't remember. It'll be on Ravelry on my project page, but it has little bits of red and orange in it. Marigold Fibers, maybe that's coming to mind. Is that a brand? Then red, then this beautiful red, and I can't hold them on like that. Okay, so the red, and then this green with blue. This is Suburban Stitcher. I think it's a river runs through it. And then this green. I think it's Madeline Tosh. It has a little bit of blue in it. And then, oh, and that's it. That's it. Those 6 colors. And those will be my stripes with the gray, which is a tonal. So, oh, the other thing I want to show you about this is the edge. The way she does the edge, it's super simple, but it is beautiful. It has the best effect. Okay. So this is the edge on both sides. It's the same on both sides. Look at how it almost makes it like an I-cord. It's not I-cord. It's not an I-cord edging, but it almost makes it like that. It is so beautiful. I'm trying to make sure it focuses. Is it focusing? There we go. It is so nice. Look at that. Look at that. And it looks good on the front and the back. It's amazing. So I'm writing that down as a technique I want to use because I could see doing that on every pattern that I make. Like, just automatically do that. I don't care what the pattern calls for, automatically do that. So it looks so finished and so nice. So that's what I got. I hope y'all have a great weekend. If you have a long weekend for the Easter holiday, I hope you have a great time. I have gotten my favorite candy, Robin's eggs. They're really hard to find. They are always available early on, but grocery stores don't buy very many of them and they don't get replaced. So when they're out, they're out. But I love them. I've loved them since I was a kid. And they changed their formula a little bit, so it doesn't work as well, but you know, they're white and yellow and blue. And so you could lick them a little and paint your lips with the candy coating. So I hope everybody has as much fun with their Easter candy as I will. And don't forget to slay.